Hi, welcome everyone. It's great to be live with you today for the next 20 to 30 minutes. My name is Dani Almeida. I am a founding member of the AI Guild and the Data Lead Director. Welcome and thank you for joining us today. We are the community of professionals fluent in data. Today I have a guest with me, is Dr. Mirko Knaak. He is an AI safety leader and an accredited leader by the AI Guild. He is recognized by his peers as a leading practitioner with more than 23 years of experience and validated expertise in digital transformation and artificial intelligence. Mirko has a significant impact on the implementation of AI in the automotive industry. He fashioned many excellent prototypes and products throughout his career, while also enabling many individuals to prosper in the field. At EFL in Berlin, he leads AI project development, especially safe AI deployment. If you have any questions for Mirko, please write them in the chat. Thank you, Mirko, for joining me today.
Thank you, Dania, for having me here.
Cool. So to get started, we like always to ask our guests to share a little bit of your career trajectory. So now you are working as a project leader, and I would like to know how did you get to where you are?
Well, I started my AI career a couple of years ago, quite many years ago, with a PhD in information theory and computational neuroscience. And then I worked mostly in the automotive industry and other industries. And after the recent advent of AI, I joined the technological hub and even set up this tech hub of IAB. IAB is a tech solution provider for the automotive industry based in Berlin. And yeah, there we are having quite a few quite cool projects running for AI.
Interesting. And let me ask you something. So you mentioned that not only you are leader of AI projects, but really you're focused on safe AI deployment. Can you tell us a little bit more about what does it mean? Like, let's unpack what is the safe AI deployment in specifically, I think, for the automotive industry, right?
If you want to deploy an AI, in many cases, it's probably not critical. But there are a lot of cases where you want to put your AI in a component of a product that needs to be certified. For instance, a car or a machine that's part of the machine regulation or whatever kind of things. If your AI is in this product, then it needs to be certified. Otherwise, or another point, if you want to bring in an AI into a position where it might harm or even kill people, then
Mhm.
again, you need to have to do a tremendous care what the AI is doing and it's not doing anything wrong. Another example could be cybersecurity, just to say maybe your AI might do something even wrong or awful after an attack, and that's something we need to take care before we really can broaden the usage of AI to a scale that can be.
Yes, agree. And can you tell us or share with us a little bit about how you got to focus on this area? You mentioned you started your career some time ago and then you started or you focused a lot on digital transformation, and now you're really focused on the safe AI. So can you tell us how did it turn or focus on that?
Frankly speaking, I'm not doing only safe AI. We have a lot of different projects. Within IAV, there are roughly 50 data scientists,
Oh,
so the scope of the project is quite big. But the one thing that we have realized, and I think that goes in line with the finding of the AI Guild, that still a high part of AI applications is still in the field of POC or you name it, or just prototyping stage and so on. And just one burden to bring it into practice is to make it really safe and secure and to prove it, to get a certification, a stamp, or whatever kind of things to uh, to show that your ISA. Certainly, it's not the only thing why
Mhm.
we do not have that many AI applications in practice, but it certainly is contributing to this point, and that's something we want to overcome. If we want to really broaden the usage of AI, then we also need to assure and guarantee that it's being safe and doing what it's supposed to do.
Yes, I 100% agree. And what you mentioned earlier regarding the findings of the AI Guild, that's right. We have had conversations with the members of the community, and this is a point that comes up over and over, independent of the industry that they're working on, or even through the different job roles, so data scientist or data engineer. But yes, this is a topic that deployment is a topic that is pretty much one of the challenges that we face. And one of the aspects or one of the reasons why deployment is not so straightforward could be the safety aspect, especially in the industries that this is most relevant, for example, in automotive. So, and also this is why we are talking here today, because you are coming to Berlin in the Data Lift Summit on the 23rd of June, hosting a session called "Be Ready for Safety Critical AI Applications." Can you tell us a little bit what to expect from your session?
Yeah, first we need to think about where's the point? Why it is so difficult to make a statement that AI is really safe. So, and if we look to the current standards and guidelines and so on for software, basically AIs and software. And
Yeah.
if you look to this, we find a lot of things that are based on the paradigm that humans make rules, and these rules can be checked by humans, and all of this structure is being part of it. So, for instance, if you go to a safety standard, then it needs to be written that if there's an if, there must be an else in the code. So that's very obvious and very clear and very logical for let's say a standard software.
Hmm.
If you're looking for AI, just each neuron can be programmed very carefully with all the if and else statements, but still we don't know exactly what the software is doing because the intrinsic situation is much different. The intrinsic situation is so that we put data in and then the rules can come out. So to review the rules doesn't make sense at this point. So and the consequence, all the standards and all the guidelines that we have do not make sense. And what we need is somehow a discussion point how we still can prove that the AI is doing the thing what it's supposed to do. So, and we just want to discuss about possibilities to do this. And among the possibilities is, of course, the discussion about robustness. It's the discussion about explainability. So, if we can explain what the AI is doing, we can also check whether it's doing the right thing. It's also about adversarial learning that we can, if we just check against really designed corner cases, we can increase the trust in our AI. It goes to the question about the coverage, the data coverage. Can we cover and can we show that we have covered the entire space well enough to be sure? It comes to some structural approaches. Can we put additional layers or change something in the structure of our AI to make it safe inherently? And there are more questions to discuss. How can we come to this point? So if you come to this session, you should expect some really technology focused things of explainability, of adversarial learning and others, safety supervisors, kind of things, but also a bit about what to do with it, what to do with the results, and how to communicate these results to an auditor to any other body who might certify your product in the very end.
Thank you, Mirko. This sounds really exciting because this is somehow a topic now that is getting more attention. I think also related to the new proposed EU Act, and as of now, it is still a proposal, but it will become a regulation with more specific, or we hope that it has more specificity in it. And then it is something that even if people have not thought about it before, they will have to handle it somehow. So it's interesting to be, let's say, at the beginning of this and having an initiative like you are doing to raise the topic, discuss about it, maybe propose some solutions that could be, I don't know, you could start right away. You don't need to wait for the regulations. And I also guess that in some cases, you also want to do that just to make sure that the customers trust your product, right? It's not only about the regulation, but it's also about building trust and enabling people to use your product with confidence.
Uh, yeah, exactly. Certainly, we are not going to discuss that much about the new EU regulation because it's very broad and a lot of things are being defined as AI. What I personally would never see as an AI. Every controller that has some regression in it, it's called AI based on this proposal. So it's a very broad approach, and I'm pretty much hope that we will be able to make a more specific legislation in the very end. But I think this will not be the topic. But your point is very clear. If it comes true, then we need to take care much more intensively about these aspects for AI. But it's also true what you said that we need to consider it right now. Even this regulation is not in place because everybody who puts something into on the market, it's liable. This person is or the company is liable for this product and the service that it's opening. And you need to yeah, somebody might come to you and say, "Oh, it's your fault, and I will please cover my the damages that the situation has been caused." And this point is really important, even right now, and worth to discuss it.
Yes, no, 100% agree. I'm curious actually to understand how the work you do or how the safe AI aspect fits into the workflow of the team producing the AI solutions. Can you shed some light into that? For example, is it when someone starts to have an idea, okay, I want to build this model, let's talk about how it can be safe? Or is it more like I have this model already and it's producing some solutions, some predictions, some classifications, let's try to see how safe it is or it is not?
Okay, I think we are suggesting two different aspects. One aspect is rather a functional test. So if I have an AI and I want to make some tests, some proofs that it's doing the right thing. That's
Mm-hmm.
certainly one very important aspect, and the other one is the let's say not the organizational, the process-based approach that you, from the beginning, you consider what kind of data sets I have used, do I have curated data sets, are they well enough curated, or just did I draw something from the internet, yeah, it's not guaranteed what is being in it, or just the next step, if I choose a model, uh, what kind of model, where does this model come from? Just have I used transfer learning? What's the core thing? But if I use transfer modeling, I don't know what is the base net is doing. And at the moment, the publications are full from things that the famous ResNets and others in the internet are not as good as it turns out in the first glance. And Do they have maybe backdoors for some cyber attacks in it that we don't know? So that's maybe the next step in the process. And then if we are in operations, of course we need to monitor what we call shifts in the domain. So if the domain then in which our AI has been working is shifting for whatever reason, for instance,
Hmm.
new players in the traffic count. So somebody invents kickback urls and or something. Well, at the moment they exist, but maybe tomorrow something similar coming. Uh, or if a change in the domain is also if somebody is taking a car and putting it to a different country. So where it's not being trained to develop, it's also a shift of
Yeah,
domain. How can we recognize these shifts of domain? So these, to answer your question, we have both this procedural aspects as well as direct testing and aspects, often an AI in a certain stage.
interesting. Yes, thank you. I see those are two different approaches and they complement each other, because one is more about the process itself and the other is specific to each of the components or the machine learning components that go to the entire AI.
Yeah, what we are would like to discuss and is just a kind of a risk-based approach that beforehand you just considering to say, okay, what can go wrong, what kind or not what can go wrong, where I put risks with my AI to the humanity. Make this very global, very broad. But can it harm people? Can it what kind of things can happen? And then I just see, okay, with this which approach of the two and also subdivision of the two, I can answer this. How can I
Mhm.
minimize this kind of a risk? So, for instance, I can say, okay, if I have the risk that let's take the example that somebody is taking the car to a place in the world where it's not being trained for. Uh, then I can have a structural approach and say, okay, let's put in a GPS signal, and if the GPS signal is outside the regional scope, then let's switch off the AI or whatever kind of thing. So this would be a structural measure, or in a different if I have a different risk, then I might want to do a different thing. If I see cybersecurity is a very high point, then I should not use transfer learning at all, even it's so convenient. It could be a different example to do.
Understood. Yes. I think that this is also the point that there are or there should be a lot of very specific cases or situations depending on what your AI is built for, right? So we can give some examples here, like you have been doing for the car or the situation on the street. Let's say if someone invents a hoverboard, like in the Back to the Future, then we start having this hoverboard on the street. Like no AI will be able to recognize that and understand how to handle that
Yeah.
for sure. So I would also think that this is pretty much driven by the use case. Yeah.
Yes. So it's just first you should consider your use case. So we had a lot of use cases in this field. If you go to rather a regtech or governmental tech, then certainly the aspects are very much different. In the end, the solutions might be the same, but there are
Hmm.
the result, the approach is different. If you go to medical, for instance, if you say it's have a kind of breast cancer detection software for screening, then again it's a fully different story. And if you go to finance, maybe it's again somewhat different. And if you go to aerospace, then it's again a
Another
different
one.
world. Yeah. Okay, again, different legislations to apply.
Yes, that's true. I think this is also why it's so interesting to join your session and be able to talk about it directly, focused on some of the specific use cases that people have. No, so from what I'm understanding, you will be there, you will do your presentation and share what you have been working on. and then people can also join from their perspective, maybe different use cases, and ask your opinion on it. Or maybe you can also learn from what they have done in different use cases, for example.
Yes, I think this is. It will be an open discussion. I would be very curious for inputs from different domains. As you said, coming from one domain, that is being mobility. Just there are other domains. I would be happy to have an exchange with you about, and so I would like to invite everybody to come to this session to see where we can improve the work here, and also to discuss about this kind of approaches. Maybe there are many different approaches, and also the scene of different tools in for this is tremendous. Yeah, a lot of very cool, very highly funded startups on the in the world. They're offering services, offering tools, and I would be also happy to invite them to discuss what kind of things are there, to have an open discussion, to bring people together. Just also maybe the regulators or the conformity approval companies such as DEKRA, TÜV, and others are just also have to, in the end, very to contribute to this, because they in the end need to make their checks to say ready, ready,
Yeah.
ready, and then you can bring your AI, or just not you, we all can bring our AI to the practice, and just gain the real potential of AI here.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Mirko, for sharing all of the insightful ideas, and also for the invitation for people that are listening. If you don't have your ticket already, please go to the website. You can book it there and meet Mirko during the 3 days of the event. Join his session, of course, on the 23rd of June. That's the Thursday. And with that, I think we can wrap up our conversation today. I am very happy to host your discussion on the 23rd. Hopefully, I will be joining there as well and learning from what you have been doing, learning about the new tools that are coming up. This is also pretty exciting. So thank you, Mirko.
Thank you for organizing all these great things here.
Yes, and see you at the summit.
Ah, I hope so.
Bye
Okay,
bye.
bye.